get back in the routine of doing this each and every day here with you, trying to kind of help some people navigate some of the stuff that's going on out there in the real world. If you have not turned on your comments with StreamYard, go ahead and do that. If you're watching on YouTube or you're watching on Facebook, you'll need to turn the comments on. That way they can that way you can comment and I can see it right here in the app. Otherwise, I won't be able to see your comments. So go ahead and make sure you do that. Should be a little message there on how to get that done. As you're coming on, do me a favor and go and hit that like and love button, all that kind of good stuff, thumbs up, because that will make sure that Facebook and YouTube kind of push it out to all the subscribers, make sure we get as many people on here as we possibly can. And the format's going to be very straightforward, guys. Today I'm just going to get down, as many of you saw in my questions, or in my email to you, I'm just going to answer a lot of your questions and get into the routine of breaking stuff down for you guys, kind of where we are in the market, what's going on. Look, before I get into the questions, let me just kind of hit the elephant in the room here, right? Because there's a lot of people that are asking, Kent, we're in kind of uncharted territory and kind of what should I be focused on? What should I be doing? All that kind of good stuff. So let's just kind of talk about that first and foremost. And the market, so let me back up, right? So for those of you that have never been or never went really through the recession of 2008, 2009, 2010, inside of the real estate space. So in other words, if you started in real estate after 2010, the only thing you have ever really experienced is an up market. The only thing you've ever really experienced was a buyer's market, effectively, right? Basically, especially in the last couple of years, if you could fog a mirror and show up, then in all likelihood, there's a really good chance that you could be successful in real estate. And clearly that has changed now, right? We are in a very, very different climate and probably going to be in a little bit different climate for the foreseeable future. What does it mean? Well, we are for sure in a recession. Now, whether this is not a housing driven recession yet, might possibly turn into one, but it is not there yet. This is a recession driven by, different economic forces. The one in 2008, 2009, 2010 was a housing driven recession. If you weren't around then, effectively what was going down is that was way too much availability of credit in the market, which created a ton of false demand in the market. If you've ever seen the movie The Big Short, then you saw strippers that were out there buying 4 and 5 houses down in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Happened to be where the market that I was in at the time. I can tell you that was absolutely positively true. Effectively, you could get a house under contract, you could go throw it up on the MLS and sell it for $50,000 more in a matter of days, if not minutes. Some of that started happening here in the last 12 months. And so it's real easy under those circumstances to believe your own bullshit. And the reality of it is none of that's true, right? The reality is you actually, if you want to treat this like a business, you actually have to take it serious and run it like a business, right? Not just show up and be highly transactional, go and effectively roll the dice, right? Go get something under contract, throw it up on the MLS and see if you got something that's going to work. Those types of strategies are not going to work anymore, right? We've been in a seller's market. I'm sorry, I said something earlier. I misspoke. Said buyer's market. We're in a seller's market for the last, certainly the last 2 years. The sellers got to dictate the terms, multiple offers on a deal, et cetera. We are now switching to where it will become a buyer's market. And so those of you who've gotten fat and lazy and have done contrary to everything I've told you to do, you haven't listened to me, and you haven't done 1 ounce of buyer marketing, specifically cash buyer marketing, you're going to pay a little bit. There's going to be some pain here for you. You're going to pay a heavy price here for the foreseeable future. You should always be marketing for active cash buyers. It's one of the basically founding pillars, founding principles of everything we've ever taught here at Real Estate Worldwide, everything that you've ever heard me talk about, whether it's on stage, whether it's on a podcast, whether it's on video. I have always screamed from the top of my lungs, make sure that you are always marketing for cash buyers. And now you're starting to understand why. Because when the tide turns, Now, if you don't have good, solid relationships with multiple cash buyers, some that are kind of hitting pause right now, some that are kind of moving in and realize that there's blood in the streets and they're coming in fast and furious. If you don't have multiple relationships with about a dozen to 25 really, really good active cash buyers right now, then that's number one. You need to get in the game and make that happen immediately. How do you do that strategically? Go into whether you use our system Smart or whether you use something like PropStream or any of the other ones out there. Go and pull a cash buyer list. Go and very specifically send what we call version 1 of our letter out of Smart. It's not hard to find in all of our trainings. Go send version 1 of that letter to those buyers and then follow the process specifically. I mean, to the T, no nuance, to the T, to the letter, exactly like I walk you through it on how to build really, really good relationships with those cash buyers where they place a high degree of value on you and will basically build your business for the foreseeable future. Now, that's what you should be doing. What market are we in? Are we going down? Are we going up? What are we going to do? Look, as I said, we are kind of certainly in a economic recession, just statistically. A lot of people aren't feeling it yet, but some people are. With that being said, the housing market is in a really, really unique situation. And that the bottom line is there is no freaking inventory. There's nothing to sell. If you look back over the last 10 years since the recession, the industry at large for single family homes specifically has built approximately 400,000 fewer homes per year than was required, than what was needed statistically. So that means we're roughly 4 million houses behind single family, and it's even worse in multifamily. And there's no way for us to catch up to that demand right now. Even if we wanted to go build 4 million houses today, if we wanted to wave a magic wand and go start 4 million houses, we have supply strain issues. We have the willingness of builders that aren't willing to do that as interest rates are going up. We have customer sentiment that's still a little bit down. We have skilled labor, approximately 1.2 million jobs sitting out there that still have not been filled. That is HVAC, roofers, plumbers, electricians. If those people, we wanted to go hire 1.2 million people and put them to work on building properties, the average timeline that takes to go through an apprenticeship, to go through vocational school, to get the real world training, to get their license is 3 years. So if you wanted to go hire 1 million people and get them out in the workforce to do this, it's 3 years away. If you wanted to go, so it means clearly, if that's 3 years away, then just to start addressing the supply is 3 years away, which means it would probably take you the better part of 5 to 7 years if we got really serious about catching up with this. So what is the impact that's having? That means that although transactions are dropping clearly in the real estate space, prices are staying, largely relatively stable. I mean, there are markets where they've dropped 5, 10, 20%, but in large part, we're not seeing 50% declines, 60% declines. I mean, it may happen here and there, but the reality of it is there's no reason for that to happen outside of a few sellers getting panicked. The reality of it is you're not going to see that kind of stuff going on. We're not going to have the same kind of dynamics that we had before. Now, with that being said, something else that is a phenomenon that did not exist 10, 12 years ago is 10, 12 years ago, you did not have institutions that were buying homes, right? BlackRock, Invitation Homes, these massive, massive funds, on all the iBuyers, Open Door, OfferPad, you name it. None of that existed 12 years ago. That was not there. And so if indeed there are foreclosures, the reality of it is most of that will never actually see the light of day. I believe that the institutions will pick that up in the background, which will keep some of the panic out of the actual market. If there is a kind of a wave of foreclosures, the reality of it is the institutions have the relationships to just pull that inventory into their portfolio and buy single family homes in bulk. Go look at the headlines. They're doing it right now. 160 homes here, 200 homes there. Many of these institutions have plans to buy the next year to 2 years. That is significant, right? Now, and here is something that changed that really you have to think about. We have this massive supply constraint. But in a normal market, everything we know to be normal up to this point, A house typically turns over about every 7 years, right? Think about basically if you sell somebody a home, if you're a realtor, about 7 years later, on average, they're going to go and sell that house again. What's different now is that when an institution buys a house, you'll never see it again. That inventory is lost forever. It will be gone 20, 30, 40 years. They're going to hold that as a rental property in their portfolio for, decades. And so now that in the normal course of business is creating even more pressure on the supply side. The normal turnover that we would see is now gone in those types of deals. And so for all those reasons, I believe that real estate is going to kind of stay fairly stagnant. This correction we're going through, it is not a crash. The correction we're going through is healthy. It is something that should be done. Prices got way out of whack. They raise interest rates, right? And when they raise the interest rates, that cools off a little bit of demand to kind of get the equilibrium more back in place, but it still doesn't address the elephant in the room, is that we're still in a housing shortage. If you go to Housing Wire, housing alerts, you'll see very clearly that most markets still do not have enough inventory. There's these ebbs and flows. They may have more inventory than they had 60 days ago. They may have more inventory than they had 90 days ago. But the reality is, at a macro view, they still are short on inventory. And so as a professional real estate investor, what does that mean? What should you be doing? How can you steer clear and navigate, these very kind of unsteady, uncertain times? How to get certainty in uncertain times? You're writing anything down, do me a favor and write this down, right? The main focal points you should be focused on right now is basically, or the main theme you should be focused on is really two-part. Cash flow is your friend and money loves speed. Right. And so if you actually want to make money in this market, then you put yourself into transactions. If you're in the transactional business, AKA wholesaling or flipping, put yourself into deals that are going to move quick. Right. My fix and flippers are out there. My developers that are out there, my new construction, that kind of stuff right now is a little scary. If you're in that type of market, then I would tell you, you need to be more conservative than you've ever been. What would happen if your price dropped by 25%, 20%, 15% in the next 90 days, 6 months, whatever? Could you stomach that? Could you get through that? And if you could, then you probably have some reasonable understanding of what's going on, and it's reasonable to move forward. If you couldn't, then you have no business doing the rehabs. Get in, get out, flip that bitch, go quick, right? That's why wholesaling right now is your friend. What you want to be doing is these quick flips, because you're mitigating risk, you're profiting, but you're mitigating risk. The buy box has moved down, but the buyers are still there. The buy box has just moved down. And as it's moved down, all you want to do is now you've got to move your buy box down so that you can match up with your cash buyer. But your risk involved in that is very, very low. And your ability to pivot and move very quickly is high, right? That's you want to be nimble right now. So anything that is tying you up into long-term projects from a capital standpoint, where you don't have a clear understanding of how you're going to exit profitably, I would be, again, the professionals that are out there, they all know what they're doing. But I'm talking about the new guy, right? I'm talking about the new girl. I'm talking about the person that's been doing this for a couple of years, 3 years. They've kind of built a track record. They're doing 20, 30 flips a year. All of a sudden, this new phenomenon is a new phenomenon. What worked 3 years ago is not going to work right now. That's a little scary. So wholesaling is your friend. Selling deals with seller finance is your friend. Right now, in this particular environment, it has probably never been easier to go and sell deals with creative deal structure in place, where you are selling it with seller financing. There are many people out there that are not bankable. This move that's just happened in interest rates has kind of pushed them out of where the banks, the lending institutions, the mortgage brokers, they no longer fit in the box nicely. So if you're out there taking a property down and considering putting it up as a rental, I would tell you that's a great strategy if you're cash flow, but it might be even a better strategy to go and sell that property with seller financing in place. Because if you sell it with seller financing in place, it's a lot less noisy and it's much more profitable than doing it as a rental. There's 99% of the time what I just said is true. If you're selling a property or if you're renting a property out to somebody for $1,500 a month, you still have to pay taxes, insurance, maintenance, vacancy, whatever. If you put seller financing in place, you're going to collect a large down payment from them. And then theoretically, if their note is $1,500 a month, well, that $1,500 is net to you. You're not responsible for taxes. You're not responsible for insurance. You're not responsible for the upkeep of the property. You're not responsible for vacancy. You're not responsible for any of that, right? Because they own the property. You're just now the bank. And when you put yourself in that situation, not only is the cash flow significantly higher, but instead of them signing a 1-year lease, this is a 30-year mortgage. A lot less noise, a lot less confusion, much more profitable. You will make infinitely more money than you're making on it just as a rental. But take it one level up. If you're going to buy property right now, one, make sure it's going to cash flow, and two, if it is going to cash flow, then you look at the strategies of, am I going to do that as a rental, or should I go get a lot of knowledge on how to go sell with seller financing? So wholesaling, cash flow. Last thing is, if you do not know how to do creative deal structure, buying deals where sellers are getting a little antsy right now, yet they're still kind of clinging on and still want to get, what they believe is top dollar for their house. They're not willing to really discount. Then if that's what you're running into, and I know most of you are, then you have an obligation to go and learn how to do creative deal structure. How do you buy properties subject to? How do you buy deals with seller financing in place? How do you put yourself in a situation where you can acquire that property and cash flow it and or wholesale it off? If you don't effectively know how to do that, then you owe it to yourself to go and educate yourself immediately, because that is the market we're in, period. Wholesaling, cash flow, creative deal structure. That's where you need to be focused on right now. If you're focused on trying to do quick flips that are fix and flips, hotels, BRRRR strategy, I'm telling you, you're probably setting yourself up. It's not a matter of if you're going to get hurt. It's just a matter of when. People, screaming from the hilltops about the BRRRR strategy for the last 8 years, right? It's been a great strategy. Right now, imagine if you just took down a property, several months ago, and you're in the midst of the rehab, and all of a sudden the interest rates moved on you, and you're looking to refi to get out of that deal, and suddenly you can't cash flow. That's, you got caught in between. So it's really important to, come to things like this, educate yourself, and try to see around corners and navigate around corners as much as humanly possible. All right. So if that was helpful, do me a favor, go hit the like, love button, all that kind of good stuff. Give me a hell yeah in the comments. And then I am going to start. All right. If I have 4 rentals right now, this is from Rob. What basis shall I determine if I should pursue a certain? Well, first off, Rob, what I would do is I would look at the property and see what your current rental rates. If the leases are coming up due in the next few months, it's just dropping it into a spreadsheet, brother. I mean, it's real simple. If I'm bringing in $1,100 a month in rent, and I understand what my current debt load is on the property. In other words, I got to pay $700 in principal and insurance. And what I want to do is, can I go and negotiate? And let's just say it's $1,100 for the property. You want to, the average property in the neighborhood is selling for 110 grand. What you want to do is go look at, if I sold it for 120 grand, right? Because I can demand a premium when I do seller finance. If I go sell it for 120 grand and I took a $20,000 down payment, I got $20,000 down payment. So I get $20,000 cash in my pocket. That $20,000 reduces my cost basis. I could literally use it and go put it all towards the mortgage to pay down if I wanted, or do whatever you want. But I'm taking a $20,000 down payment. I'm then going to finance $100,000. Let me look here. You bring my little calculators. So if I financed $100,000 and I wanted to pay $100,000 and I wanted the payment to be $1,100. Oh, sorry, I got to do minus 1,100. Sorry, this calculator's a little finicky. Okay. So you can't see this, but if I charged $1,100 as a payment and the principal that I'm financing is 100 grand because I took a $20,000 deposit over 360 payments, my interest rate calculates to 12.9%, right? They're paying literally the exact same amount of money they were paying before, except now they own the house. Only thing that's changed for them is they put a down payment and they are now responsible for taxes, insurance, they own the property. Now, what does that do for you? Well, instead of you selling, you're thinking in my mind, I sold it for $120,000. I collected 20, or I collected 20. I would collect, if I just sold it for 110, I would have just gotten $110,000 and had to pay off my debt service. Do it this way. Here, you collected 20, and then over the course of the loan, over the next 30 years, you will collect $396,000 in addition to the 20 grand. So you will be in this deal for you will have collected $416,000 on this deal. If your cost basis, let me just help you here. If your cost basis, assuming that you're only in the deal for 50 grand, that means you are earning 26.39% on your money. You can't see it there. 26% on your money in a 30-year return is pretty damn good. And that's the simple, kind of math you would go and back into is if I'm reducing my cost basis, again, it's a $110,000 property. I'm in it for 70. They gave me 20. Now I'm really on it for 50. I have a mortgage I got to pay. You're going to back that out of that 26% return. But that is the way you look at it versus what you're doing today. It's just simple pro forma laying side by side. But I would look at them as the leases are coming up. Can you convert your tenant into an owner? Because if you can, that's a great place to start. There are millions of people, ladies and gentlemen, that are quote unquote not bankable, or they just don't trust what's going on in banks. But they operate with a lot of cash. Going and putting down $20,000 so that they can own a home is not a big deal. $100,000 mortgage for them, 30 years, it's an $1,100 a month payment, even if it's $1,000 a month. Your return on that is so large, it is shocking. And if you don't understand uninterrupted compounding interest, then do yourself a favor and go educate yourself, because having a 20% return on your money for 30 years is how you get very, very wealthy. And the question may be, Rob, hey, what happens, Ken, if they want to pay it off? If they sell it, they want to pay it off. Your returns will be greater because, as anybody that's on here knows, what happens in the first, let's just say if they wanted to pay this off in the first, let me put it back the way I had it. If they wanted to pay it off like in year 10. So in year 10, keep in mind, they will have made $1,100. It's basically, they will have already paid you $120,000 plus the 20 grand. You will have already collected 140 grand. Their principal balance that is still owed on the deal is $112,000, right? It's freaking wild because we all know, anybody that's ever paid on a mortgage, what happens is the first 10 years is all interest payments. So that if they want to pay you off, the principal is still so large, that double whammy, getting that kind of return in 10 years is going to be, again, a mind blower. And we'll do an entire session on this, but I just wanted to kind of bring it up. I'll even bring some more experts in here to talk about this. Let me jump into some more questions here. All right, Steven says, Ken, I'll be going through bankruptcy before the end of the year, a divorce, a business foreclosure, last 24 months. Can someone like me get into the game with no money, no credit, no cash? Steven, first off, man, I feel your pain. I've been there, brother. All of the above, right? Divorce, foreclosure, getting my brains beat in. As crazy as this sounds, and I know it sounds almost like hyperbole, like, somebody's blowing sunshine up your ass, but I can tell you, in 2002, right, I was facing bankruptcy, foreclosure, had just gone through a divorce, basically lost millions and millions of dollars, had a few $1,000s in the bank, four grand, after having millions, was an absolute shell of myself, did not believe that I was worthy, 100% thought about suicide on the daily. Thank God my young son, I got the opportunity, really understand what I'd be doing to him and thought about it. Very, very, very dark times. And what ended up saving me outside of, getting, finding in my now wife of 19 years, but finding somebody in my life that believed in me again and kind of helped me get off my feet or get on my feet was wholesaling, right? Actually doing deals. I didn't have any money, just like what you're talking about, man. I mean, it doesn't take any money to go and find a deal at a discount and go put up bandit signs out there that says, must sell, all cash, cash only, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, call my phone number and find a cash buyer for that deal and quickly flip and assign your contract to them. It happens every day. In fact, it happens 145,000 times a month in the United States. So you 100% can do this. It is just you got to get your head in the game. You got to start taking action. You cannot look in the past, cannot go backwards. You just got to say, I'm going to do this. And I'm going to get in the game. I'm going to be the hero of my own life. I'm going to step up. I'm not going to let any of this bullshit define me. And what I was going to say earlier is it is really hard to understand that at some point you will look back at this and realize this is the best of times. But if you're anything like me and anything like a lot of people that I've coached over the years, that very thing will happen where you'll look back and be like, dude, I went through all that bullshit, but it helped me become amazing, at what I'm doing now. And the easiest way to do it is put one foot in front of the other and start attacking the day. Get going. Get into wholesaling. If you want to get into wholesaling, then we can set you up with my wholesaling course and go right through it, show you exactly how to get started. You definitely don't need money or credit. I mean, obviously a little bit of cash helps, but if you've got the will to get it done, you can make it happen for sure. It is right there in front of you, and you would not be the first, nor will you be the last to start with nothing and get on top. I literally had a guy in my office here yesterday, a guy by the name of J.R. Piper. Jared Piper, one of the best guys you'll ever meet, was talking to me. He was about 10 years ago. I was completely homeless. I got started in Phoenix. I was doing wholesaling. Now I'm up on, he's a member of our boardroom in the past, and he's kind of he's talking to me now. He's like, I just got to pinch myself. I can't even believe where I am. 10 years later, I'm sitting here and I own $10 million worth of real estate. It makes me $50,000 a month. I have $2 million in the bank. I'm going to go take a 2-month sabbatical with my girlfriend to Asia for the next 8 weeks. And he's like, I just can't even believe that this is what's really going on. That's in 10 years, brother. I mean, going from homeless, destitute to millions of dollars in the bank, $500,000 a year in passive income coming into him, and living the life that most only dream of. So do not get overwhelmed with your current circumstances. Get your ass in gear and get going. Hopefully that helps you, Stephen. All right. Let me jump over here. I got a bunch of questions that came in on email. Let me see what I got. Let's see if I can just go down one at a time here. This is from Billy, and it says, in situations where the sellers are asking very close to market value and no creative finance, is a way that I can have my sellers sell directly to my retail owner, occupant, buyers, and I get paid on the HUD closing. Billy, I think I understand what you're saying here. The bottom line is, as long as you disclose everything on the HUD, and if you want to connect them and everybody agrees through a 1-page addendum that you're going to take, whatever your commission is out of that deal, for sure you can sell. I mean, again, the retail game is all about disclosure. If you're going to connect, I don't understand why that wouldn't be just a normal transaction, quite frankly. Maybe I'm missing something there. All right, let me go to the next one here. Rob, again, so if I'm going to co-wholesale a deal, I need an option agreement, number 1. I need assignment of residential, number 2, and a JV agreement if I'm splitting commissions. That is correct. You need an option agreement. If you're getting the deal under contract, then you actually need 3 things. Option agreement, if that's the way you put the deal under contract. If you just put the deal under contract with a purchase-sell agreement, then you don't need the option agreement. But if you have an option agreement, well, then the way you execute on that option is by then putting in place a residential purchase-sell agreement. That's the real contract, right? Which kind of nullifies the option at that point because you're executing on your option. Now I have a purchase-sell agreement, and then I have an assignment where we are assigning it. my JV partner and I are assigning it to my JV's buyer. But before that happens, I also have to have a JV agreement where we are co-wholesaling. So effectively, you, Rob, you have your purchase sell agreement. Here, in theory, what I believe you're saying is that you have a partner who has a buyer on their side. And before your assignment, this agreement gets put in place, you want to also put in place a JV agreement where you guys agree to split the wholesale fee. If that's what you're saying, then what I'm saying is you are correct, my friend. Robert, it is my understanding that we can use the home in question for purchase equity or the instrument to secure the note, correct? Is there a specific one you fill out? Rob, I do not really understand your question, brother. It's been my understanding that we can use the home in question for purchase, equity for the instrument to secure the note. That's where you're losing me. If you want to add some, I'll respond to your email here, man, and get some clarity around this and we'll answer it tomorrow for you. Okay. I've been struggling with funding this is from Diana. I've been struggling for funding for a long time. What additional? So Diana is looking for funding for outside. So Diana, the bottom line, it looks like Diana's looking for funding outside of a real estate opportunity here. What I would tell you is that, Diana, there is no lack of funding in the market right now. I will tell you that the capital markets are ripe. They want to invest heavily in ideas and in jockeys. I mean, we've raised tens of millions of dollars over the course of the last this year alone, and along with many other people that I call my colleagues and my peers. There's no lack of capital that's sitting out there. My question to you is like, what are you doing to get in front of the right people? Do you have a pitch deck? Are you banging the phones, making 30, 40, 50 calls a day to get in front of different VCs, to get in front of different investors that specialize in investing in technology? Because if you're not doing any of that, then the reality of it is that then you don't deserve the money, right? Business is brutal. Business is, the most effective thing you could learn how to do is figure out how to go sell. It is the one skill that always serves you in business. If you do not know how to sell your ideas, sell your concepts, sell your services, then you're always going to suffer. And so if that is a weak area, then you need to go and learn how to sell. And the easiest way to learn how to sell is to certainly go through some training, but equally get in the game. I'm not accusing you of this at all, Diana. I'm just using it as a point of explanation here. There are people the world is filled with people who believe that their idea, their business, etc., deserves to be funded, deserves to be, front and center. Somebody should be giving me the money to do this. And the reality is they're not paying any price to get that done. They're not actually doing shit. They're not working their asses off to make that happen. That's the equivalent of me saying I deserve to be, anybody who watches UFC, I deserve to be at UFC. I deserve to be in the championship fight. I deserve to be on the card, pay me $1 million. I deserve to do that because I believe I'm a great fighter. I've watched all the podcasts, I've listened to all the podcasts, I've watched all the YouTube videos, I've read all the books, I've done everything that I believe I should do. So therefore, just put me in the game. And the reality of it is that is not anything close to what greatness looks like. If you want to be a great champion inside of the UFC, what would you have to do? Well, number one, you got to actually get in the fucking ring, right? At some point, you actually have to get in there and be willing to get punched over and over and over and over and over. Tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of times, get choked out, broken bones, broken nose, black eyes, all that kind of stuff. That is what the expectation is to become a great UFC fighter. It sounds completely ridiculous if somebody expected to be a great UFC fighter by, designing their entrance song was going to be, or what their shorts were going to look like, or they've got this cool website that talks about them, or they've watched all this stuff online, but they actually haven't done the thing. Right. And the world is filled with people who have that sense of entitlement. The reality of it is that you got to get in the green. You actually have to go aggressively go after raising the money. If you need $100,000, then go and figure out exactly who you need to talk to. And if you cannot get a seat at the table, you make a seat at the table. I believe so passionately in my project. I believe so passionately in my technology and the outcome it will create. I believe that I can do, and that passion is just this relentless pursuit where you will never stop. It is not a matter if you will get the money, it's just a matter of when. And it will not be easy. And you should expect to get hit. And you should expect to be told no over and over and over and over and over again. You should expect to not hear yes for a year. And then ask yourself, if I don't hear yes for a year, am I still so passionate about that? Because if you're not, then stop. Because you have to be. You have to be so unbelievably relentless to be amazing at business. This world is filled with mediocre business owners. This world is filled with mediocrity in general, right? It is the norm. To be great is not hard. You just have to do what others aren't willing to do. You have to be willing to push further. You have to be relentless. You're just not, I won't give up. I will never stop. I will keep going. I do not care about failing. I do not care about falling down. I do not care about being wrong. I will not be denied. I will get there. I don't care if it takes 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. I'm going to get it done. And if I can do that, then I get to win. If I'm unwilling to do that, then get out. Go to work for somebody else. Go perfect your skills on somebody else's dime. Go become a great salesperson somewhere. Go get paid to be a great salesperson or a great marketing person or a great technology person and perfect those skills and then come back to where you now know how to get things done. I hope that helps you, Dinah. I mean, again, I'm not accusing you at all that is your scenario, but it's based on limited information from the email. It's really what I got here. Let's see here. Here we go. This is from Marvin. It says, good evening. My question is, how much money did you start with your first purchase? Did you find the cheapest, most affordable items? It's selling fast and bought it both. So the question is effectively, Marvin's asking me, how much money did I have when I started in this business? And I already talked about it earlier. I had none. I mean, basically, dude, I had $4,000. And I would tell you that what I've learned in now 34 years in business is one thing to be very, very true. It is not a lack of resources. Most people sit on the sidelines and they talk about what they don't have. I don't have access to funding. I don't have access to money. I don't have buyers. I don't have sellers. I don't have deals. I don't, right? And I hear over and over and over again about why they can't be successful because this or that, right? And it's this victim mentality. The reality is it is not a lack of resources. I want everybody to write this down. In fact, if you really want to remember it, go type it in the comments, right? Because it's a good reminder. It is not a lack of resources. It is a lack of resourcefulness, period. If you are resourceful, in other words, I will figure it out, I will not be denied, then resources are inconsequential. Marvin, if you're out there and you're trying to start a new business and you're trying to get it up off the ground, be resourceful. Most businesses start with friends and family, right? Partners. Who's in the business that you currently want to be in? Can you partner with them? Can you do creative financing? Can you go get a line of credit against your house? Can you go, sell a vehicle? Can you go do things to create the cash that you believe so passionately will help get this business off the ground? Because if you don't, then you're admitting that you are unwilling to be resourceful. The resources exist. It is a lack of being resourceful. And there are a million ways businesses are funded. I mean, you've got kids right now, today, that are literally, because Gary Vee told them to go do it, going to a garage sale, buying shit, turning around, going right back on eBay and looking on the filtering, what did this item just sell for, putting it up there and making hundreds and thousands of dollars every week. You have people that are renting their vehicle on Turo or renting a bedroom out on Airbnb. I mean, there are so many creative ways to create real cash now. driving for Uber, driving for Lyft, right? I mean, doing DoorDash. There's so many ways to create extra income to help get a business off the ground that it's just a matter of, are you willing to do it? So it isn't resources. The money's there. It is, are you willing to go do whatever it takes to get the money? Because if you really believe that money will put you in a position to change your business forever, then the hell are we even talking about? Go make it happen, right? Again, I'll give you a lot of different examples there. Friends, family, partners, lines of credit against your house, selling a vehicle, starting a side hustle, whatever you have to do, you do it. This is from Gordon. It says, how do I take the first step in to contract a deal when wholesaling with a seller, and how and what do I put on the contract with minimum earnest money? So Gordon, if you haven't taken our wholesaling course, go take it. It's easy. We can get you set up. All you got to do is just send me a message and we'll get you set up, right? But the very first thing, when you go and put a property under contract, you are effectively, the structure is very simple. You're using a purchase sell agreement, a standard real estate contract in a lot of cases, and you are putting it under contract for a specific price, number one. You are, number two, the entire contract, you will write it in, is subject to a 14-day right of inspection. Now, what that means and why that is critically important is that the contract is a quote unquote not even really valid in the eyes of the law until 14 days from now. In 14 days, it will be valid, which means, so in that 14-day period, you have the right to inspect the property. Now, there's nothing that says how you're supposed to inspect it. You could literally go look at it on Zillow online, right from your desktop or right from your phone and say, hey, I took a look. I don't want it anymore. It could be that simple. Or you can do a full inspection, or you can do none of it. Bottom line is in 14 days, in that 14-day window, you can walk away without any penalty whatsoever. All that would happen if you put $1,000 or $500 in earnest money, nobody can keep that money, right? The title company will hold it, but they cannot keep it until after 14 days. And so if you cancel that contract for any time, any reason inside of 14 days, they must return that money to you, period. End of discussion. If you have that subject to 14-day right of inspect. I would always suggest getting, somewhere $500 to $1,000 earnest money, as low as you can get it, quite frankly, especially if you're doing multiple deals. You want to, you can't go off and do 100 deals a month at $500 earnest money on every one of them. You look up and there's 50 grand laying out there, right? You can't do that. So as low as you can keep it. And most sellers, if they're truly motivated and truly in a distressed situation, there's no difference between putting 100 or 500 or $1,000 down. Now, outside of that 14-day window, so in other words, for that 14 days, you really have 14 days to go find a buyer that will buy and will take over your position in that contract. If for whatever reason that doesn't happen on day 13 and day 14 comes, you have to cancel that contract. And here's the business decisions. You either cancel that contract and get out of it. You either negotiate another couple weeks for inspection, right? Buy you more time. Or you stomach it and say, I do believe I can get this sold. And so now I'm going to take the risk. And what that means is that escrow deposit now is in play. That means if you don't get it sold after that 14 days, in between the 14 days and the day of closing, let's just say it's going to close in 30 days. It's going to close on September 17th. Here we are, August 17th. So on August 17th, I put it under contract. So basically September 2nd is my 14-day window. And on September 17th, is when it's supposed to close. So if I don't sell it in that first 14 days, when 14 days comes, I have a decision to make. I got 2 more weeks before this bitch has to close. Am I going to roll the dice here and see if I can get it closed? See if I can go find a buyer that'll close it in 2 weeks? Or am I going to walk away? If I'm going to roll the dice, here's what I'm putting at risk: my earnest money. Because if in that 2 weeks I still don't get it closed, it does not mean I have to close. It just means I walk away, forfeit my escrow deposit. That's it. All right. So your liability here is the actual escrow deposit, but it's only a liability. It's only a vulnerability the moment you get outside of that inspection period. Hopefully that helps you, brother. All right, let's see here. This is from Jayton. I have a few things I want to work on, but not enough staff. Man, this is wow, this is a lot here. Give me a second. Okay. Jake, you got a lot going on here, brother. Sounds first off, you need to get out of the headlines here, man. It sounds like you've got a lot of money making opportunities around you and you're trying to pick which one, but you're at the exact same time you're thinking about um, trust and LLCs and holding companies and labor shortages and banks are tight. So here's what I would do is pick one, right? If you want to pick on, that's it. It's that simple. Wholesaling is quick cash flow. It is not real estate investing. Wholesaling, if you had to put a bow on it, I would tell you it is marketing. That's all it is. Wholesaling is I'm finding a property, I'm putting it under contract, and then I'm going to go assign my interest in that contract to a cash buyer who will actually close. It's really more of a marketing function. There is no quote unquote actual investing in real estate because I'm not closing on the deal, right? Largely, I'm going to just flip my contract to somebody else. That's not real estate investing. But it's quick cash, it's active income, it's taxed at the highest tax bracket, period. But it's real money. I mean, we have guys that do several $1 million a year in wholesaling income inside of our boardroom mastermind and inside of our community. So you can make a ton of money and you can make it fairly quickly and you can make it where it is, effectively low risk. You can go do Airbnb arbitrage, where effectively you're putting a master lease in place. You're going and signing up to rent a property. Now you have real liability there because you have to rent it now. You go sign a lease and saying, I'm going to rent this place for $1,500 a month. Your ass is on the hook for $18,000 this year. You're going to pay $18,000 in rent. Now, the arbitrage play is that you also get a master lease in place, which allows you to sublease it out on Airbnb, and you might be able to go and equally go rent it, short-term rental for $50,000 a year. So the arbitrage is I'm renting for 18, somebody else is paying me 50, that $32,000 is mine. Are there additional costs, moving parts, all the other thing? I got to get it cleaned, I got to get it taken care of, I got to get it supplied, I got to do customer support, I got to get it up on Airbnb, I got to get it on VRBO, all those things. Yeah, there's a lot more moving parts to that. It's a real business, but is it profitable? And can you focus on it? Of course. What you don't need to be worried about is all the superfluous shit that's going on. There's seasons in a business. And the very first season that you will go through, which most of you are in right now, is you have to be a hustler. You have to perfect creating revenue, perfect creating income in real time. And that's all based on your efforts, right? You don't start by, hey, I'm going to go hire 45 people. I'm going to go build a business from day one. I have no money and we're going to see what happens. Nobody starts like that, right? You actually have to go do deals, create cash. And again, whether that's wholesaling, whether that is buying and selling cash flow notes, whether that is doing an Airbnb arbitrage business, whatever it is, you have to do that first and you have to perfect that. I know exactly how to get that transaction done. I have done it. I know exactly how to do it. And then the next season of the business, we start to move from, this hustler into more of the manager role, and where we start putting systems and processes and leverage and people in place to streamline it and take me out of it more and more and more. And then we move from manager up into CEO. And CEO is I have multiple managers now working for me, managing multiple parts of the business. And from CEO, we moved to chairman of the board. Now I have a CEO and his managers all doing what they do. I'm getting paid. I have no operational involvement whatsoever in the business. I'm sitting back on the board of directors and getting paid. I have ownership. I'm sitting up on top of it. And ultimately, then you move to the last phase, which is investor, which means I have nothing to involved in this business. I just have ownership, and they're just paying me millions of dollars a year. I'm the guy that owns it. And those are the stages, but you have to start in the hustler stage. You have to perfect. So it doesn't do you any good to go and start coming out of the gate and worrying about oh, I got to set up this trust and LLCs, and I mean, that's all of that is not where your head needs to be. There will come a time and a place where that will all have to happen, hopefully sooner rather than later. The first thing you have to do is get in the game and figure out how to make money. And then you can clean up how to get your correct LLC. You know, you can go work with Prime Corporate Services, you know, one of our partners. You can set all that up. It's one phone call. Here's your LLCs. Here's your trust. Here's your estate plan. Here's everything. It's one phone call. You don't need to be worried about that. You need to be plugged into a community, into people that help you solve that problem. But it's not your problem to solve. Your problem to solve right now is get fucking paid, right? Go and make money. Be the badass you're capable of being. Prove that you can actually create real revenue. Don't think about it, be about it. Do it, right? And again, if these 16, 17-year-old kids can make millions of dollars on YouTube videos or on TikTok, for God's sakes, or on all these little side hustles, all these different guys got going, you know, flipping trailers and running ice machines and buying laundromats. I mean, there are so many side hustles out there that are big cash businesses. Play full out, get paid first, then you go turn it into a business. Hopefully that helps you, brother. Let's see what else here. Rob, will there be another find and flip challenge? I know this is supposed to be a question, but I really want to tell you. Okay. So, Rob, we have no plans right now to do another find and flip challenge. However, I am, why don't you reach out to my office and see if we can take you under our wing and get you where you can actually get some deals across the line right now. My team would love to talk to you and see if we can actually help you, right? We got time. We got a lot of students around the world right now, but we can certainly pull back the curtains and show you specifically how to go do that. Happy to do that. Happy to help you. I don't have any plans to do find and flip challenge right now. Doesn't mean it's not going to happen. Just means I don't have plans to do it right now. We did a lot of that right through the middle of COVID, when a lot of people, quite frankly, were sitting at home on their asses, and it made sense. I don't know if it still makes sense for us right now, but I'm willing to try. We'll see. I got to get through Scale and Escape first, right? I have the Scale and Escape Summit coming here in, I guess, 4 weeks. In Fort Lauderdale. We have 500 people in that room learning how to scale their real estate business. I have another 1,000 online. We've got our boardroom mastermind coming up here in the next 2 weeks. So we have a lot on our plates right now, not to mention our own core real estate business and all the other businesses we own. So not sure if it's in the cards this year. It might be. We'll see. If I get enough feedback and people tell me how much they love the Find and Flip Challenge, I may have to reconsider. It was an intense 5 days. I guess it ended up really being 9 days, but I agree. I enjoyed doing that, and I know it was really helpful to a lot of people. All right, so this is from Matt. It says, this is an ongoing problem, and I'm losing deals due to it. I don't have a big name, I'm not rich, and I don't know a lot of investors or have rich friends, but I can find deals, but I can't find buyers for the reasons above. I'm needing good, dependable cash buyers to let people know I do. Okay, so Matt, this is a simple problem. I talked about this at the beginning. You can't expect to find buyers if you're not actually marketing for buyers, right? Be honest with yourself. Be reasonable with yourself. Give yourself the opportunity to win. If you go into our smart software right now, you can go and pull a list of every single cash buyer for the last 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, years, 2 years, doesn't matter, in your market, specific by zip code. And it will tell you, here's what they paid, here's their contact information, here's the address they bought, everything you want. You literally can then hit a single button and send the best marketing piece I've ever used, which is version 1 of our letter, and market directly to those cash buyers. They will get a letter from you on your letterhead, and your phone will ring off the hooks. The only people that will call you are the people who actually need you, which is great, right? No bullshit. The cash buyers that pick up the phone and call you, they're calling you for one reason, and said that I am got your letter. I understand that you can help me find properties. Tell me what that looks like. Let's get going. And that is how you go build a crazy effective list of cash buyers. End of discussion. If you don't market for cash buyers, you cannot expect to get cash buyers. You talk about how you've got a piece of software that goes and finds sellers. Well, there's no different. We have a piece of software that goes and finds buyers. Use it. get in the game, right? I mean, you can get in it smart for $97 a month, dude. You can have every cash buyer in the United States at your fingertips on bended knee, begging you to sell them deals. It's a decision. It's that simple. If you're not willing to go and do what, use systems and processes that have all been perfected for you, well, then you got to go guerrilla tactics. And if you have a property or you want to start trying to build a list of cash buyers, a very effective way to do it, not as proven because you don't know that they've actually pulled the trigger, is go take one of your deals and go put up 20 bandit signs at the 4 major intersections, or 16 bandit signs, one on each corner, 4 or 5 major intersections that are all within a half a mile of that property. And it just needs to say, must sell, 3-2, $150,000, or must sell, all cash only, 3-2, $150,000. Call this number, cash buyers only, whatever it is, right? The only people that are going to call are the people that are cash buyers, largely. That's a way to go and start building a cash buyer list, right? Now, the difference between those two is that, one, somebody's calling off of a bandit sign. You only put bandit signs, by the way, at street lights where somebody's going to be stopped for longer than 7 seconds. Put them at a stop sign, they're nowhere near as effective. Ideally, you're only putting up bandit signs on Friday evening. You're taking them down Sunday evening because code enforcement does not enforce during that time. I would not recommend leaving bandit signs up. Outside of that, and depending on where you are, you might get clipped pretty good. But go and put those signs up. And the people that call, again, they're not proven cash buyers. They're calling off of a sign. If you use a system like Smart or PropStream or many others out there where that data is literally being pulled out of public record and being cleaned up, people that bought a house, the way that's happening is they're looking behind the scenes. I can tell you what we do because we invented it. We started very simply a system I was using called reverse wholesaling 20 years ago. It's what made me kind of famous in the grocery industry. I brought it into real estate. Is that I wanted to go find who all the best buyers were, and so that I could have a conversation with them and say, if I could sell you anything at any price in any market, and deliver it on any day, what do you want me to bring to you? Right. And when you have a conversation like that with a cash buyer, that makes the other side, when you're seller marketing, infinitely easier because I know exactly what my buyers want to buy. But in order to get there, you got to find the buyers first. Well, it's pretty simple. Every county in the United States, deed of transfers were recorded last week. Every house that was bought and sold last week, a deed of transfer was recorded. Equally, when that deed of transfer was recorded, if they use a bank, a lending institution, a mortgage was recorded, a prom note was recorded, a lien was recorded against that property at the time that they purchased it. Those things were done pretty much simultaneously. If that mortgage, lien, prom note was not recorded, but the deed was, how'd they buy the house? Has to be cash. And so when you get that data, like we did, and start cleaning it up and start using it and start going, that's what PropStream, that's what Smart, that's what these systems are doing. They're going and filtering all that data out, making it really easy for you and saying, hey, here's Matt, everybody that paid cash last week, last month, last year, last quarter. When you do that, now all of a sudden you can take that list, send a proven marketing piece, and turn around and increase your odds of being successful with it exponentially. Because now they paid cash, you can have a conversation with them, and ultimately you can start directing your seller marketing to where the deals you're getting out of the MLS or otherwise are deals that actually make sense for them. Hopefully that helps, brother. And that is it for the questions. And man, that's perfect because we are right on the hour. Guys, if this has been helpful, then come back. I will see you guys tomorrow at same time, same place. YouTube, Facebook, everywhere. If again, it's been helpful, do me a favor, go throw it in the comments, share it, all that kind of good stuff. Get more people on here as we build up a little momentum. We're not going anywhere. So again, if you've got more questions, make sure you bring them back tomorrow or just send me an email and I will happily make sure that we talk about them on here. With that, peace.